You're watching Dallas Mavericks Today. I am Harrison Graham, producer Jeff Cooperstein hanging out here as well. And we've each cooked up 3 trade ideas because the Mavs still have a move or two to make potentially in free agency, but the trade talks have been ongoing. Mark Stein has made that very well documented that the Mavs have been active on the trade market, especially for a center. But now, Coop, with losing out on Matisse Thybulle, you wonder if trading for a wing is a possibility as well. So we each cooked up 3 trades. We'll alternate, go back and forth here. And let's start with your first trade idea, Coop.
It took me a while to come to grips with this one because it's Rudy Gobert. But I think if you get two second-round picks in addition to Rudy, I think it's a deal you might want to take. It's Tim Hardaway, Richaun Holmes, JaVale McGee. This is the same offer that the Mavs did offer the Phoenix Suns for Deandre Ayton.
Minus the seconds?
Minus the seconds, yes. Well, the Mavs getting the seconds
back.
Right,
true. Yeah, that is the same offer.
Look, Gobert's the better player, but Gobert also has an albatross contract and had a bad year, frankly, in Minnesota. So I think I would still do this deal, but it's something that I think the Mavs would do just because they need to get better at that center position. They need rebounding more than anything, and Gobert provides that.
Of note, now that the Richaun Holmes trade to Dallas has been finalized, technically he can't be traded in a package beyond a 1-for-1 for 60 days, but that's still well before the season, so we've included him in some trades, and that could still be agreed upon, even if not official until, September 7th,
whatever
8th,
the day
whatever
is,
it is. So keep that in mind. I don't want to see a bunch of comments. They can't trade Holmes. Well, they still can well before the season starts. So you look at Gobert's contract, Coop. I mean, that is the one part of this where you're just like, it's a lot. And even though it was bad last year, the question is, would Minnesota move him without getting first-round pick capital? That is the question.
Yeah, they gave up 5 first-round picks for him.
4 or
so
5. It was
they probably would want a first-round pick in return. But if I'm the Mavericks, this is the reason it's my offer, and it's because, look, Minnesota wants to get off this contract. Minnesota admits their mistake in getting Rudy Gobert, and they just want to wash it away and do without him.
Yeah, and look, as much as Gobert is a meme at times and easy to make fun of with his antics and his play, I mean, he would fit well here. I mean, he's a good defensive center, alters a ton of shots. His blocks were down, but he still can affect a lot of shots. And look, when you have Luka and Kyrie as your 2 primary guards, you need a rim protector, and that is something that Gobert applies. And he's a good roller, Coop. He can catch lobs from Luka. That's the one part of the offensive game that he does bring to the table, that and offensive rebounds.
Him and Luka PNR would be devastating for defenses to even try to guard. And more importantly, I think what he brings on the defensive end would bring significant value, especially when you have Luka and Kyrie in the backcourt. Their defensive shortcomings would kind of be hidden with Gobert just sitting back there. Also of note as well, Gobert's contract would line up right with Kyrie's contract as well if he accepted that player option.
Yeah, so you're kind of on the same timeline there. So grade the trade that Coop cooked up here. Gobert, you get a couple of seconds for Hardaway, Holmes, and McGee. A, B, C, D, or F. Look, I'm not a huge Gobert guy. I'd probably do it, though, if I'm not having to give up a first, and especially if I'm getting some picks back. So I'd give this one an A. Let us know what you guys think. A, B, C, D, or F when it comes to Rudy Gobert. All right, here's my first trade idea, Coop. Deandre Ayton to Dallas for Tim Hardaway Jr., Richaun Holmes, JaVale McGee in 2 seconds. Look, it's the same trade that Mark Stein reported, and others, by the way, that was already offered, but you're throwing the 2 seconds that you got in the Grant Williams deal as well back to Phoenix. Is that enough to sweeten the deal enough? I don't know, but I think it's pretty clear, Coop, that Ayton and Phoenix, that's been a kind of sizzling relationship for the better part of 2 years. Sure, Monty Williams is gone, but I'm not sure that actually fixes everything.
I'm not sure either, and it's just really weird as well because Chris Haynes reported that the Phoenix Suns are planning on Deandre Ayton being a part of their team going forward. Is that just, trade bait to try to get someone to give them a better offer, or what is it, or are they actually planning with them?
It could also be there's not good trades out there, so they're like, well, we'll just keep him.
Yeah. And I think they're happy to keep him. They signed him to the Pacers signed him to a 4-year, $133 million offer sheet, which Phoenix immediately matched.
Yep. 18 and 10. I mean, look, like, if he played like this in the playoffs, I think he'd have much more value. But the last 2 years in the postseason, his numbers dwindle. Now, I know come playoff time, it really becomes more of a guard and wings game compared to the regular season. But, I mean, shoot, like, if that trade's on the table for Deandre Ayton, I think I'm doing it, man. You're dumping JaVale. Tim Hardaway, you've replaced what he can do with Seth Curry, at least to a certain extent. And Richaun Holmes, who 60 days have to go by, you're upgrading there with Ayton. So I think I would absolutely do that. And then your center combination becomes Deandre Ayton's your starter, Lively's your developmental guy, and Dwight Powell is kind of your vet that you know what he brings to the table at that point.
I'm in.
So let us know. Who would you rather trade for at that center position? Type G for Rudy Gobert, type A for Deandre Ayton. It's a tough call. I think it just comes down to which trade in terms of which one you're not having to give up as much ammunition. So G for Gobert, A for Ayton. Let us know in the comment section below. And hit that subscribe button here at Mavericks Today. We've picked up almost 2,000 new subs in the last month or so. So shout out to everybody. Round of applause to all of you. Coop and I really appreciate it, and I hope you guys appreciate the work we've been putting out. We're putting out videos every day, some days multiple videos. When the Mavs sign somebody, we got you covered. When big rumors are out there, big reports, we're breaking that down for you guys as well. So subscribe today, turn on the noties. It's 100% free. All right, Coop, take us through your second trade here.
Here's my second trade. I get the Mavericks getting DeAndre Hunter for Tim Hardaway and a protected first-round pick. I think this deal gets done simply because I think the Hawks are kind of disappointed in what DeAndre Hunter's brought them, and he's a really good player. I just don't think that once they signed him to that contract extension, I think they were expecting a little bit more, and maybe a change of scenery would benefit him here. And I know the Mavericks are in desperate need of wing help, and I think he would be a guy that would be great for the Mavs.
Yeah, and the Hawks are kind of a team right now without a clear direction. Like, who are they? I know they signed, what's his name?
DeJounte Murray.
DeJounte Murray to that big 4-year, $120 million extension. So they're going to keep him around.
And I think that whole pairing with him and Trae Young is just weird,
I know.
too.
Like, is Trae Young part of their long term? They moved on from John Collins. Is Capella still a guy that could be traded for? I would be interested in Capella, too. But DeAndre Hunter is coming off his highest scoring output now. The three-point shot was a little bit down this year. But, look, his ceiling and his diagnosis coming out of college was as a high-level 3-and-D player. And we've seen flashes of that, Coop, but injuries have really held him back. And I think you could be right. In a fresh change of scenery, he could be someone who could blossom elsewhere.
Yeah, he hasn't really done it consistently, but, man, the tools are obviously there. He's a very good defender at the wing. I think he can play the 4 a little bit if you need him to in a pinch. He can certainly guard them as well. So that's what's appealing to me with DeAndre Hunter.
All right, here's my second trade idea, and I got to be honest, I really like this one. I don't know if it's enough, but Nic Claxton, a really good young center, and Royce O'Neal come over, both on 1-year deals remaining on their contracts. So I think in Claxton's case, you would probably keep him around. Maybe O'Neal, you just 1-year rental and move on. The Nets receive Tim Hardaway Jr., JaVale McGee, a first and a second-round pick for Royce O'Neal. Is he actually, now that I'm going through this, Coop, is he with Did Utah move him to Brooklyn, or is he with Utah currently? He's on Brooklyn's roster, isn't he? Yeah, he's with Brooklyn. He got moved from Utah there. But you get a 3-and-D 1-year rental with O'Neal. And look, he's not young-ish, as young as Matisse Thybulle, but he can help give you what he would have given this team. And he's a more proven shooter over a consistent period of time. And Claxton, Coop, is only 24, and he is an excellent player around the rim on both sides of the court.
Yeah, honestly, I'm not sure this deal gets done simply because of the value of Nic Claxton. I think he's one of the best young bigs in the league right now, and I think he's going to get a massive contract extension from the Nets here this offseason because next year I believe he's a restricted free agent. So I think that they'll end up signing him to, somewhere around the 4 years, $80 million a year range because I think he's that good.
Yeah.
Royce O'Neal, I really like as a player. I think he can play the 4 as well, and he's a pretty consistent shooter. So I'm a fan of O'Neal as well. I'm just not sure the Mavs have enough draft pick capital to get this one
just
done.
for clarification here, that first is in 2027. The second isn't necessarily just one of those second-round picks you got in the Grant Williams deal. Hardaway and McGee back to Brooklyn, and not sure why I cite myself out on O'Neal. He is definitely with the Nets. He was with the Jazz before then. But, look, I would love this for Dallas. Again, I tend to agree it's probably not enough. Maybe you have to throw in that second too. I'm not sure. I don't think I'd be willing to include a Jaden Hardy in this trade, but I think Claxton could be here for a long time. And for this year, O'Neal could definitely help you on the perimeter. So that would be worth visiting if a possible trade is there. Now, go pick up this draft hat for the Dallas Mavericks at chatsports.com/NBA draft hats. You can wear these all year long, by the way. They're not like littered with draft logos on them or anything like that. I'd be rocking this in the month of December. Chatsports.com/NBA draft hats. That link is in the comments and in the description of this video. All right, one more trade idea each, Coop. You go first.
Yeah, so I'm just going to buy low here on Isaiah Stewart because the Pistons already have their franchise center in Jalen Duren, who they drafted last year. Now, Stewart started the majority of games last year, but I expect that to flip this year where Duren kind of takes over that starting center role. And I'm a big fan of Isaiah Stewart and how he's played. He's been very good against the Mavs, and I think he has that dog in him as well. You remember that little incident he had with LeBron James where he went nuts.
He's not backing down.
He's not backing down. I think the Mavs need more of those kind of guys. And when I was looking up his stats, I'm kind of surprised. He doesn't shoot it that well from three, but the fact that he shoots threes at all is kind of surprising to me. He's also a decent rebounder as well at 8 a game, so I think he would be a decent fit here.
Yeah, when he was coming out of Washington, he was kind of this funky prospect because he's like 6'8", but he's like a bowling ball. I think he's like 240. So he's like a little shorter than you would think as a center, but he's got skill. I mean, he can really score the basketball. He's a physical rebounder. Okay defender. He's definitely not great on that end, but, he'd be an upgrade from JaVale McGee for sure, and at least a young piece that you could try to further develop here. So, if Detroit is willing to move him along and if they'll take on JaVale McGee to do it, I would absolutely be on board with that. All right, my final trade idea here. Buddy Hield to Dallas has been rumored forever. So him and Isaiah Jackson, who is that's not. I think he's a big. That's a mislabeling on our part. Tim Hardaway, JaVale McGee, and a 2027 first. I just with them extending Miles Turner last year, I think Jackson's value for them goes down a bit. So you ship out Tim Hardaway to Rick Carlisle, who's very familiar with him. McGee goes in there to match salary. You send a first as well because I think that's kind of what Buddy Hield is worth, 1 first-round pick. And there you go. I think Hield is an upgrade from Hardaway at this point because Tim doesn't play much defense anymore. Hield's not a great defender either, but he's younger and he's a more consistent three-point shooter. In fact, Coop, he had the best year of his career shooting from three, 42.5% last year.
Yeah, he's an absolute sniper, man. Look, he also lives in Dallas. I don't know if you knew that. He lives in Dallas in the offseason as well. So it would be a natural fit here for Buddy Hield. Obviously, coming off the bench, he would have to be a Tim Hardaway replacement. They couldn't coexist on the same team. Yeah. So I kind of like this deal. The problem with Tim Hardaway and JaVale McGee is I'm not sure what their actual value is on the trade market. Yeah. I know we kind of went through all these ideas, but it's going to take a team, I think, like the Pacers, with Rick Carlisle, who has familiarity with Tim Hardaway, to maybe take that on.
Well, and I think in reality, I think we know JaVale has no value, so he's more of a salary matcher in any kind of trade. And the question in this deal is pretty simple. Is Hardaway and a first enough for Buddy Hield and Isaiah Jackson? I think Jackson's probably worth a second in terms of lining that up, so maybe you have to throw a second in there too. But I would throw a second in that trade also if that meant if you got Buddy Hield, because I think a Buddy Hield, Jaden Hardy bench backcourt would be pretty solid. Now Hardy's not a true point, so you probably have to stagger Kyrie and Luka with the second team, but I think Jason Kidd's going to do that anyway.
And I know Buddy Hield also would like to be a starter, so I wonder if he would welcome a trade or not, that where he knows he's going to be coming off the bench.
Yeah, so there you go. Those are our 6 trade ideas. Before we finish this segment, let us know. Send us your best Mavs trade ideas. Maybe we'll flash them on a future video. Coop and I are always down to chop up what the audience is saying. So send us your best trade ideas, and maybe we'll cook them up for a video for you guys.